Hello, my MGTOW brothers, back again for another session. And this time I want to talk about something that caught my eye while doing research on something else. This is from the year 2005, September 5th, 2005, from the Western Standard publication in Canada. I think it's a monthly magazine in Canada. And the title of this article was called Dads on the Run. It talked about this being a sort of an underground railroad for fathers that have been set upon by the family courts in Canada. It caught my eye because I had never heard of it. I had never heard of the organization that we're going to mention. And it was interesting about how these escapees were MGTOW before the term was even formed. These are the level 4 MGTOWs, the MGTOWs that have gone galt, that have escaped the system and started another life. And get into this. Okay, this is from the Western Standard, September 5th, 2005. Dads on the Run. Dads on the run. You've lost your wife, your kids, your house, and any money you earn goes to your ex. Your only hope may be the highly secretive organization that is helping hundreds of divorced Canadian dads flee the country and start a new life. In January, Gordon, a British Columbia divorced dad, was desperately emailing men's groups for help. Having lost his job more than a year ago, he had nevertheless been ordered by a judge in December to pay $22,000 in annual child support for his 3 kids he hadn't seen in 24 months. He was out of money, out of resources, and was becoming depressed and suicidal. Then he received a strange message. "We know what you're going through," it read. "Many of your Canadian and American comrades, brothers, friends are taking asylum to start a new life away from the oppression of their governments, to save their lives. Do you want to join them?" Now, Gordon was unsure of what he should do. Now, this is not his real name. He replied with an email requesting more information. And what followed is more of a Cloak and Dagger novel come to life. He was told to go to a public library and email the details of his situation using encrypted mail service that couldn't be traced by the FBI or the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They told him to use a woman's name, and then they said they would give him another address and never use the one he had again. He got this information from a source that called himself Sandy. Sandy identified himself as a men's rights activist. Now, Sandy instructed Gordon to erase all references to their communications on his home computer and clean his hard drive. He told him to pack light, clothes, tools of your trade, and minimal fishing and camping gear. He said pay cash on the road, go to small stores without cameras if you can, take extra fuel so that you can get at least 500 to 600 miles before stopping to fuel. So delete this message and all other correspondence with me and others. Commit addresses to memory. And said Gordon would be on the lam from the law. The organization Sandy represented was called the Planetary Alliance for Fathers in Exile. And they believe that dads like Gordon all over North America are being persecuted by an oppressive regime. Where have we heard that one before? So according to their website, PAFE is dedicated to helping fathers escape and attain new identities and jobs in Europe. The way the PFAE explains it, divorced dads are at war with a system they cannot hope to defeat. Doesn't that sound like MGTOWs? The website claims that 100,000 men are annually forced to leave the U.S. alone due to the feminist fraud that has tainted the justice system. Said the exodus is proof that America is a living war zone with or without Iraq. So the PFE site reads, There are dead, dying, and wounded and missing among its ranks each day. The number of men forced into illegal and treasonous debtor prisons in America stands at around 250,000. There are still men paying into this diseased system so that they can see their children and be safe month to month. Said no father in his right mind should go along and support this fraud. Fathers have three choices: take their kids into hiding overseas, stay and show civil obedience, or go overseas alone to start a new life. All else is slavedom or death. The Planetary Alliance for Fathers in Exile believes men are persecuted and offers them a way out. An underground organization based in Nice, France, the PAFE claims to have assisted 250,000 North American men start new lives in Europe. Through encrypted emails and clandestine phone calls, PAFE prepares men to leave everything behind, lines up work for them abroad, and changes their identities. Alliance founder Roger Dubois also goes by the name Gene Kelly. A decade ago was a New York emergency room physician. When a friend of his, a Canadian doctor, approached him to help him find a way to reduce suicide rates among divorced fathers, and to help his associates who found themselves unable to continue with their careers because they were consumed by custody, access, and child tax issues. Kelly happened to hear about a policy begun by the French government seeking highly educated immigrants as part of its competitive policy. He immediately realized that the opportunity represented a way out for thousands of men who thought they had none. Kelly says that once they are overseas, the men find work all across the European Union. And the opportunities are tremendous for men who have skills. We've got scientific institutions, high-speed railways, a space agency, says Kelly. We've got the biggest passenger plane in the world. We take anyone who's got the experience and education. For those without, we provide work in the building industry, farming, and transportation. PAFE says that officials in the French and Spanish governments are actively helping the group to make it easier for skilled workers to start a new life. We take the skilled and highly educated gladly. Engineers, high-tech computer skills, scientists, but we also are doing a lot of humanitarian work, preventing people from going to jail. Among his clients, he says, a large number have PhDs, the who's who among scientists and engineers. Men who aren't highly skilled often work in the underground economy and pay no taxes. We help anyone who wants to have a life again and use their potential to the fullest, Kelly says. While PFAE exists precisely to help fathers escape what it considers unjust custody and support arrangements, the ideal, says Kelly, would be for dads to be able to stay home near their children and be treated fairly by the courts. If Canada wants a healthy society, it should not bow down to minority interest groups, he says, referring to the feminist activists he says have upended the justice system, turning it against men. Individuals anywhere will escape from laws which are unfair and damaging to themselves and society. The societal damage isn't all that hard to see. Perhaps hundreds of thousands of skilled and educated men fleeing Canada for life is something any economist would easily recognize as an undesirable policy outcome. Kelly estimates that in a typical case, a single exiled father could cost Canada $2 million in lost skills and foregone future income. And there is the immeasurable cost that comes from such a large number of children growing up without a father in their life. So as you can see, MGTOW existed a long time before the acronym MGTOW actually came about. MGTOW is a reaction to the feminist system that men are faced with today. Onerous child support, unfair marriage laws, hostile family courts, unfair judges, unfair police, unfair domestic abuse laws that we have. They simply create more MGTOWs. And this is just one example. It's an extreme example of what we see, but it is an example. These men paid the ultimate sacrifice, exile, leaving everything they had behind, just as the runaway slaves did during the Underground Railroad, leaving their friends and family behind for a new life in another country, far beyond the reaches of their society. So I close with this. The more onerous the system gets, the more MGTOWs are made. We are just the forerunners of what is to be. The question is, will the system adapt and change, or will the system die? And I guess there's some folks in this audience that don't care which one it is. Till next time.